Hi, my name is Iris Carter, and I'm with Career Development Services here at Rockingham Community College. We offer services on helping people write resumes, do interviews, do their job search. We have lots of tools to help people, and today we want to talk about how to write a resume. I haven't met anyone yet that loves writing resumes, and most people do it so infrequently that it's hard to know what the current trends are or how to even begin writing a resume. As always, we're available if you need one-on-one help, but hopefully this guide that we're doing today will help you along your way if you're writing a resume. Resumes are an advertisement. They're not a biography. So we don't expect to see anybody put everything that they can do on a resume. It used to be a time where you did that and an employer would look at it and go, oh wow, you can do this and you can do that, and yes, we want to hire you and we've got the perfect job for you. Now employers will say, this is the job we have, you tell us if you can do it or not. So you only want to include the things that are relevant to the job that you're applying for. And yes, that means that you want to make adjustments to your resume for every job that you're applying for. You won't always have to, but you want to compare your resume to a job posting and make sure that the keywords and elements that the employer is asking for are actually in your resume. So let's go over a little bit about why that is. With our resumes, we type them straight out. We don't use a template because there's a thing called an applicant tracking system, ATS, and you can look it up. You'll find all kinds of information about it. And the applicant tracking system scans the resume, and they're used in just about every situation where you would upload a resume to an employer's site. The applicant tracking system needs to be able to scan it, read it, and understand it. With a template, information is put into boxes or charts or things like that it's hard for some scanners to be able to read past that. They will try to figure out what the computer language is behind the scenes, and it ends up turning it into garble. So typing a resume straight into a Word document is your best bet. The first thing I recommend to people is decide what job you're going for and which skills you have that will apply to that job. So it's sort of a reconnaissance mission. You're looking at your past history and what skills and experience you have that would apply to the new job. For example, somebody who is a waitress that is interested in going to work in an office would describe in the job description part of her resume, would want to focus on things like taking orders accurately, providing good customer service, totaling bills correctly and accurately, anything doing with paperwork and customer interaction. The fact that you can fill salt and pepper shakers and sanitize tables isn't important for that office job. But if you were applying for a different restaurant, then of course you would want to put that you recognize safe food handling and that sort of thing. So again, it depends on what type of job you're looking for as to what skills and what experiences you're going to list. In the resume, we start out at the top with your name, the city you live in, the phone number that you want employers to call you on, as well as an email address. School emails are fine to use as long as your account is still active, but once you graduate, that account may no longer be active, and then you're stuck not being able to get those emails. So what I recommend is that you have an email address that reflects your name. You can use your first name, initial, and last name. You can use your first initial, middle initial, and last name. Any type of, last name first, any type of mix that includes your name. If you're going to put numbers in order to make it unique, then what you want to do is maybe use the month and day of your birthday. Never use the year of your birthday. You don't want to give away your age or your graduation date. People can immediately pick up on that when it's in your email address, and it's none of their business how old you are unless you have an age requirement of being over 21 or something. A lot of people will go, but I don't want to change my address. I'm not asking you to change your address. I'm just asking you to have a special email specifically for professional purposes. Then we're going to have a summary. The summary includes who you are, what kind of position you're looking for, and what you can do for the company. So, for example, you come up with a couple of adjectives that truthfully describe who you are, like being dependable, motivated, compassionate, if like you're going into medical care, any of those kinds of terms that accurately describe who you are. And so I could say something like motivated, dependable, team-oriented, and customer-centric employee or candidate or professional. Seeking a position in an office environment or in a medical environment or in a warehouse or with a manufacturer, you pick the place, where I can use my skills and abilities to grow in my career with a company that I can help meet and exceed their business goals, or something like that. And we'll have some other good examples for you. You're trying to introduce yourself and mention the type of position you want. Because if an employer gets it and you don't even say what you're looking for, they don't know, or they don't know which position you're applying for with their company. Then you're going to have the skills section. Skills are things that you've learned and obtained because of the experience you've had. So, for example, maybe you have excellent computer skills, including knowledge of Microsoft Office programs. Or maybe you are a welder, knowing how to do TIG and MIG welding. Maybe you're an office personnel that used specific types of programming that's relevant to the job you're applying for. Other things are, we have hard skills and soft skills. So the hard skills are the things that they can test you on. The soft skills are more like your work ethics. Are you able to communicate effectively orally and in writing? Do you provide excellent customer service, addressing others in a professional and friendly manner? Do you work effectively with a diverse community, recognizing and respecting cultural differences? Are you knowledgeable in handling all types of monetary transactions with accuracy? Those are the different kinds of things that you can list in your skill set. Then in the experience, you're going to list your job history, starting with your most recent job first and working backwards. You should list the name of the employer, where they're located, and the month and year that you started the job and the month and year that you ended the job. Or you can say until present if it's a current job opening. And then you're going to go to the next line and list the actual job title that you most recently held. A lot of people say, well, I started out as a temp, or I started out in this position and was later promoted. Put your most recent position as your current position or your most recent position. And then in the job description part, you can say that you were hired as a temporary person, or you were hired in this position and was later promoted, because that shows that you proved yourself to the employer and that you advanced in that job. You also want to try to use other things that show any special recognition or achievements that you had. I've seen people who have said, well, my employer always said I did the best at doing certain tasks. So you can put in there, recognized by supervisors as being proficient in doing whatever that task was. And then describe kind of what you did on the job. But you don't have to go into a lot of detail. You only want like 3 or 4 bullet points at the max that says a general overview of what you did, and use layman's terms. You want anybody that sees your resume to be able to understand what you did. If you use a lot of jargon that's used on the job and you're going to a different employer to apply for a job, they might not use the same language. So you want to put it in a language that anybody can understand. So after you list your job history, then you're going to list your education. And all you have to do is put the name of where you got your education and that location, like the city and state, and then the degree or certifications that you received there. If you just have high school education, then you're going to list the high school and then you'll put diploma. If you came to a community college, you can put the community college name and then you can put certification in blah, 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 or associate in science, or associate in applied science, or associate in arts degree. If you got multiple certifications, then you can just list them as bullet points. If you transfer from a 2-year community college to a 4-year college and graduate from that 4-year college, you don't need to list the 2-year college because that was a part of your 4-year education. You don't need to list your high school if you came to community college because you couldn't come to community college unless you had your high school diploma. So there's no need in going way back in history. Sometimes employers will ask you for that history on an application or if you're applying for a federal job. But for most resumes, just list your most recent education. Now, if you got a master's degree, you might want to list your bachelor's because they might be in different areas. So that's the main parts of a resume. You also want to make sure you proofread your resume. Get somebody else to look at it to ensure that there are no typographical errors, that your statements make sense and are complete. You don't need to put periods at the end of the statements you make because they're generally not complete sentences, but you want to make sure your ideas are complete in there. So there's not a lot of punctuation involved in resumes, but what punctuation you do have, you want to make sure it's correct. You also want to make sure that you use tight writing in your resume. And what do I mean by tight writing? When we talk or when we write, we tend to use a lot more words than we actually need. And so your statements can be really long. So for example, I have examples from actual resumes. There was one where somebody put programmed CNC machine from blueprint documents to perform specific functions according to window measurement dimensions to be cut. I condensed that and said, followed blueprints to program CNC machine for precision cuts. It says the same thing in a lot fewer words. We don't need paragraphs on resumes. We don't need long statements. It is an advertisement. You are telling them that you can do the job that they're asking you to do. And just like major products, I mean, you think about, I always use the example of Coca-Cola. When Coca-Cola advertises their product, they cater it to their audience. If it's a summertime audience, it's going to be cool, refreshing drinks. If it's a wintertime audience, it's going to be Santa Claus and polar bears. And then they're not going to tell you all the ingredients that are in it, how many calories there are, or the fact that people use the product for other things like cleaning white wall tires and getting rid of battery corrosion. So focus on what can you do and how it relates to that job and keep it simple. So again, if you need help with your resume, you want some one-on-one advice or help with interview skills, cover letters, or any of the other services that we can offer, you can contact Career Development Services here on campus or ask for me personally, Iris Carter, or my supervisor, Gwendolyn Roy. And we also have a way that you can set up appointments that we'll include in the description, and we'll be happy to help you.